Welcome back to my channel. This is The Intimate Cook and we are cooking sausage gnocchi stuffed Italian bread today. I'm starting with some garlic infused olive oil. And then I'm going to drizzle some regular olive oil as well before we put the garlic in the pan. This is going to be a very yummy, cheesy, comforting recipe, so I hope you enjoy it. I've got the pan on medium high. I'm putting in 2 cloves of minced garlic. I have also got some ground sausage. They did not have the ground sausage, so I had to do sausage links. I'm just going to push the sausage out of the casing. This is a Parmesan flavored sausage, so we're going to see how that works. I figured it'd be really good with the flavor since I'm going to have Parmesan cheese throughout the gnocchi and the Italian bread. So I'm going to get that garlic going, giving it a stir, and let it start to simmer before I put the sausage into the pan. So I have the sausage out of the casing, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the pan with the garlic. It has simmered, it is fragrant. So just pushing the sausage into the pan, and we're going to go ahead and start to break it up so it is more like a ground sausage. I'm just going to use a spatula to break that up and let it get brown before we add some seasonings in. Now that I've broken that up some, I'm just going to use a fork to scrape the excess sausage off and continue cooking the sausage until it is brown before we add in our seasonings. While the sausage is browning, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the butter to top our Italian bread. I just have a half a stick of butter and a clove of garlic. I'm going to pop that in the microwave for 30 seconds to a minute until it is melted. That is what we're going to use to brush our Italian bread before it goes into the oven. I'm also going to get my water ready for my gnocchi. I've got a 6-quart pot and just some kosher salt to sprinkle in there to get the water boiling before we put our gnocchi in. So John Aaron was sleeping during this recording, but I did have a cameo appearance from my husband. Everybody say hi, Jay. We were really looking forward to this meal. We eat salads during the week, and on Saturdays, we always choose something that we really want. It's a cheat meal or a comfort meal, and we decided to do a stuffed Italian bread this week. I am seasoning the sausage with organic dried basil. You can use regular dried basil. This is just what I had in my pantry. I'm also going to use some Italian seasoning as well. I'm gonna give it a sprinkle and a stir. And then we're going to put in our sauce. The sauce that I used was Ragu Simply. It has 8 simple ingredients. This is the traditional sauce. I enjoy these Ragu Simplies because it doesn't have a bunch of junk in it. And if you're not gonna make your own homemade sauce, it's a really good substitute. So if you don't have time to make your own sauce, which I did not, I use the Ragu Simply traditional sauce. I'm also going to add in some heavy cream. You can see that I dropped it a little bit in front of the camera, but I'm going to show you a trick. If you want to get all your sauce out of your jar, you can use whatever other liquid you are going to put in your sauce to get it all out. I'm using heavy whipping cream because I want this to be a creamy tomato sausage gnocchi. So I'm just going to give that a shake to make sure I get all of the sauce out of the jar and pour that in and give it a stir. And then we've got our base for our creamy tomato sauce. You can also, if you're not doing a creamy sauce, you can just put a little bit of water in your jar to shake, give it a shake, and make sure you get all of your tomato sauce out. Now that we have that all stirred, I'm going to give it a taste to see what else it needs. I always suggest that you taste your food so that way you know that it's not lacking anything. I'm going to add some ground fennel seed to this. I grind my fennel seed in my Ninja and then put it in a jar so it's just easy for when it's time to season my Italian foods. And then I'm also going to put in some more basil. I am also going to add some dried parsley to this. I am spinning the top. When it's large like that and it has the leaves, instead of getting it all over your counters, I've just found it easier to spin the top to season. I'm also going to add in some garlic powder. We all know that I love garlic powder, and for this recipe, I just don't feel like there's any such thing as too much garlic. I'm also going to add in some Parmesan Romano grated cheese to this. Again, I want this to be a creamy based sauce, and it is going to be a cheesy recipe. So I'm just going to do a couple of palmfuls here and then give it a stir, and the sausage sauce will be complete. So we're just gonna give that another taste and make sure that it is good. Remember, always taste your food to make sure that it is going in the right direction as you're cooking. I've also got my melted butter ready, and now we are going to go ahead and add in our gnocchi to our boiling water. For the gnocchi, this one calls for 4 minutes, and your gnocchi will float to the top when it is done. So I'm just gonna place this in here and set a timer for 4 minutes. While the gnocchi is cooking, I am going to get my bread ready. So I'm just cutting slits in the bread. I've got it cut in half and I have cut the ends off. This way I have room to stuff in the gnocchi and cheese for my stuffed Italian bread. This does not have to be perfect, but you do want a square on the inside. I'm doing this very carefully and pulling apart any excess pieces. Be very careful with your fingers. I am using a bread knife to get in there. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of press a hole and an insert into the middle of the bread. I'm being careful to make sure that it does create a bowl shape. You don't want it sogging through and getting through the bread, so you want to make sure you have enough space on the sides where it does make a bowl around the pasta. As you can see, my gnocchi has floated to the top of the water, so I'm grabbing a slotted spoon and I'm just going to take that gnocchi and place it into the sauce that I have prepared. Now that my gnocchi is in the sauce, we do need to season it, so I'm just going to add some basil, some Italian seasoning, and some garlic powder to the gnocchi before I stir it into the sauce. I want those flavors to marry and have the same essence throughout. If you don't season your pasta, it is not going to be seasoned magically just with the sauce. So I'm giving that a stir, and if you are not stuffing bread, you can go ahead and put some cheese on this and serve it as is. But again, we are doing sausage gnocchi stuffed Italian bread. As you can see the insert that is created. And what I did is that excess bread, I took it and placed it in the sides because, again, I don't want the pasta to just float out of the bread and make it soggy. So I used the excess bread to create more of a barrier, just to make sure that I've got a nice firm bowl to put in the pasta. Another trick that I'm doing is I'm going to layer some cheese at the bottom just to make sure that the pasta does not soak straight through to the bread. So I've got some Italian cheese that I'm going to place in the bottom of the bread bowl before I put the pasta in. Grab my butter and garlic mixture, and I added some Parmesan Romano grated cheese to it as well. And I'm just brushing the tops of this bread. I'm gonna do that on the sides and cover it really well with the butter. You just wanna leave a little bit because we're gonna use the excess to put on top once we get our cheese and sausage gnocchi in the actual bowl. So just make sure you brush these sides very well. It's gonna give it that really nice crust that you want, that garlicky flavor, that buttery flavor, and make it extremely comforting. And now that I've got that all brushed, I'm ready to add in my gnocchi. So I'm just gonna fill this bread. I am mashing it down in. I'm just gonna fill it to the brim, and where it's overflowing and peeking over a bit, because we are going to cover it with cheese, and that will encase the gnocchi. So don't be shy when you're filling up these bowls, and be sure to put a lot of gnocchi in there. And of course, we're not gonna waste the rest of the gnocchi. We're going to put some on the plate with the bread as well. Once you get that all done, I'm gonna squeeze them together so that way they kind of set, and then I'm ready to top it with cheese. I'm going to use just about all of the cheese. I'm gonna leave some to garnish my gnocchi once it gets on the plate, but you want to load up your cheese because it's just going to melt down and create basically a top to your bread in the oven. And now it is time to put the rest of that butter on top of your bread. Just drizzle it on top. I'm also going to put some extra Parmesan cheese, some basil, and parsley on top. I've got my oven set for 350 degrees, and I'm just gonna put that in the oven for 10 minutes until it is golden brown. So now it's going into the oven, and there we have it. That cheese is melted and it is perfect. There is no gnocchi seeping out of it, so you have successfully created a sausage gnocchi stuffed Italian bread. Now let's get ready to plate. So I have this separated in two halves, and I am surrounding it with the rest of the gnocchi that we made. Of course, we're not going to waste that. I'm also going to dress the gnocchi with the rest of the Italian cheese and a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then we will be ready to try it out. I think the next time that I make this recipe, I'm going to invite a couple of more people over because it was definitely too large of portions to eat for one person. When I do that, I think I will do it on a larger plate and just do the whole thing and have it sliced, and then surround it with the gnocchi all the way around and kind of make it like a shared family style plate. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I think that you will. Let's get ready to taste it and see how it is. it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, the reveal. Let's see how it turned out. I'm just gonna take my fork, get in there, get into the bread, and see what we have created. Let's see what this bite is about. Oh my goodness, look at that cheese. Gotta wind it up just so we can get a taste. And we're gonna take a bite. Oh my, it is so good. So good. Thank you so much for watching another presentation from the intimate cook, Tony Autry. I hope you'll tune in next week. We will be making ribs, mashed potatoes, and green beans. You don't want to miss it, so turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any recipes from the intimate cook. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I can't wait to see you all next week.